I'm ready when you are, Commissioner.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Today is the 27th of September, 2021. We're at Iron County Commission for the morning. Let's start out this morning with the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer. I've asked Terry Palmer from our building department to lead us in the pledge, and Bruce Anderson from the Landfill to offer us a prayer this morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father in heaven, we humbly bow our heads today. Father, to give you thanks. We're so thankful for all that we have and all that we enjoy here in Iron County. Father, we ask a special blessing on this meeting, that the Spirit will be with us as we go through the business of the county. We ask a blessing on the leaders of our county and give you thanks for their work and their sacrifice. Father, we thank you for the wonderful citizens that live here and their willingness to help out and to work hard. Father, we love thee, we love thy Son, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right. We've got minutes from our last meeting, September 13th of 2021. Is there any discussion or changes?
There was a couple of corrections, and I saw those, and I think you got those.
Okay.
John got
That
those.
was right,
So.
wasn't it? Mike Miller?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you fixed it all the way through.
Yeah, he was in there several times.
You wanna-
All right. Call for a motion to approve the minutes of September 13th.
What was the date on those minutes again?
September
13th.
13th, 2021.
Okay, so I'll move to approve the minutes of September 13th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you want to approve the claims too?
Yeah, let's
Got it.
do that.
Okay.
While I'm signing, is there
I'll move.
yeah, go ahead.
I'll move to approve the claims for payments from September 13th, 2021 to September 26th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Those. All right, departmental reports this morning. Let's start with building and zoning. Welcome, Terry, back to the stand.
Thank you.
Back to the hot seat.
I guess he wants me to talk into this. I haven't figured it out yet. It doesn't sound very good anyway, because I've tried to listen to him afterwards. So I have I have give you copies of my report. As of Friday, all these numbers are coming in as of Friday. Where we're at with stuff. Planning, still staying busy. Quite a few people talking, still subdividing. Lots of stuff going on still with the planning side. Still going, still busy. Building, first note there, House Bill 1003 has gone into effect since the last time we talked, and that House bill now states that we have 14 days to review. Once we accept a House plan, we have 14 days to get that reviewed and get ready to issue. And commercial buildings is 21 days. That's gone through state legislation now, and they have put a list together through legislators and home builders of the items that need to be on there. We have started distributing those to contractors and homeowners and stuff so that they are aware where we're at with that to try to keep them going smoothly. So we have done 534 project reviews this year to date compared to last year at 261 reviews.
Wow.
So we've doubled the reviews on projects there. So it has stayed way busy. We have issued, as of Friday again, we've issued 462 permits as of that. And then last year at the same time, we had issued 362. So we're up just about 100 permits right there. We have completed 2,997 inspections this year to date as compared to 2,421 last year. So we've seen a steady increase on their permits. They're not slowing down, staying busy there. We've started, as Commissioner Cousins knows, we've started the Newcastle Fire Department, the review on that, getting things ready on that one to get them a new building started out there. The next page is a breakdown summary of the individual Iron County, Parowan, Bryan Head, Canaryville, and Paraguna with the breakdowns compared from this month and then year to date compared to last year. Iron County, this month we issued 27 permits. Last year was 357. Or this year is 357. Last year to date was 283. Parowan, we've issued 5. Bryan Head, we've issued 5. Canaryville, we haven't issued any, but we're the same as compared to last year to date. And Paraguna, we are up 1 over last year. Then the big spreadsheet on that last page, that top column, that top row goes east to right to or left to right. That is the Iron County numbers for the unincorporated areas only. If we look at the bottom YT, that bottom row, it says our total permits for the county was 283. And these are 2020 numbers. The valuation was just $19.5 million. The fees brought in was $326,000. That was in 2020. In 2021, we've got 367 permits issued, a valuation of $33.1 million, and fees collected at this point is $520,000. So we're up almost over $200,000 in fees brought in this year with the construction that's going on. So our numbers are up. We can go across there and see how they broke down. Single family, we had 97 in 2020, 145 this year. Our additions, we've got 39 last year, 80 this year. Those numbers are too shaded. Accessory, he had 80 last year, 91 this year. Our solar is 33 last year, 35 this year. Our gas, electrical, and miscellaneous are 28 last year, 51. Our commercial, we're down 1 this year over last year, but we have several that are still looking. We've got a couple contractors that are looking to do some more industrial buildings, so we've got some industrial going out in the county to keep us busy there. Our incorporated towns that we covered, Parowan, Paraguna, Bryan Head, and Canaryville, their numbers for 2020 was 79 issued with $8.9 million in value with $107,000 in fees collected. This year we're at 93 permits, $15 million valuation, and $189,000 collected there. That's within our towns. So they're still staying busy, keeping up with them. Our numbers are fairly consistent across the board with there, but still being up some. Down at the bottom two, we got them combined. If you look at the very bottom one, that's our number. We're up 98 permits this year. Our valuation is $19,000 higher and $274,000 more in fees collected. And then our permit numbers that are up. So we are staying busy, trying to keep up with things there. We are still trying to keep up with some zoning. Thank you for your heads up on another one this morning. I will try to get out there the next day or two to figure out where we're with that. But back to one of our, from the last commission meeting, I just want to mention with Keith Jobs and the dogs, that is a big concern. We do take that and look at it. I know Sheriff Carpenter and his deputies have spent some time out there. We have spent many of hours talking between myself, Nate, and Corey. We've probably spent almost 40 hours out there in Monte Vista 5 watching for dogs, checking on that, talking to both the neighbors, trying to see what's going on. We don't see the dogs there. We know that there's dogs in the area. We know that there are concerns, but we're trying to keep up with it to address those type of issues. So, still running. Still lots of stuff going on.
Very good.
Anything else? Anything we need to look at? Anything we need to address?
Just hold on to your pants. Just keep.
I'm trying to do that.
Oh, I appreciate working with you guys. I mean, they're always running with their hair on fire, but it's kind of like controlled chaos.
No,
they don't lose control. They just.
Well, he called me early this morning. I says, I'm just pulling my hair out trying to get things ready for the day. He says, well, don't do that.
Like, stop. You're not going to have any left.
So, but no, I appreciate all three of you as commissioners, the things that you do to support us and help us out. I do really appreciate it. In our department, we do appreciate the support that we get and help.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
You're doing
you
a great
too.
job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything
You
else?
do a
I'm
great
going to run
job.
for a little bit. I told Commissioner Blake I'd try to be back in a while for some other things that may come up. So,
Hey, Terry, before you go, so it looks like they got the bleachers torn down.
Oh.
And probably you and I and Preston ought to get together and go over and lay that out
okay.
for the pad, right?
Gonna meet with Rich today, but he's gone, so.
Yeah,
So you know what we need to do?
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do it.
If not, we'll fake it.
We,
He just said he needed, give me the dimensions and.
Yeah, I've got the dimensions, so we can go over there and just
Lay
lay
it
the
all
corners out. We're gonna, instead of having that east end close to the track, we're gonna parallel it with the other, line it up with the other structures. So
Go
we just
straight
need to
down
make
like
sure
we
we're
talked about.
on board before you do that pad.
okay, can we do that tomorrow possibly?
Sure.
Because I'm by myself today. Well,
Oh.
I'm in the field by myself today.
That's fine.
Lester will be back tomorrow too to help, so we can do that.
Okay,
Get that
maybe
all
we all ought to
squared
run over there and just lay it out and check it out.
What, in the morning, what time? I got a thing at 9 o'clock in the morning.
What time do you start? 7? 2? How early for you, Commissioner?
Let's see.
And then I can see where Lester at and myself. I should be in training,
One
but
of
I
you
can step out for a minute.
Can run.
We just got that Newcastle fire meeting at 10:30.
10:30?
I'm free before then.
Okay.
So just what time?
You got to meet at 9?
7 or 7:30?
I can do that.
Let's-
7:30.
7:30. That way I can get with Lester and make sure one of us is there to help get that laid out.
Right.
That was the next thing is, they are going good on that. I have not heard when the building will be here for the fairgrounds. Have you heard from Chad on that yet?
They think both buildings will be here within a few weeks.
A few weeks, huh? Good. That'll keep
I
us
ran over
going.
there this morning and there hadn't been anything done as far as there's one little tiny pile, but the excavator's still there. So I wondered if Curtis was over pouring that cement or something this morning over in Summit area.
So we've still got a little bit to get out of the road, though. I'll run by there, too.
Most of it's gone.
Most of it's
Yeah,
gone.
they
It's
haul-
tiny little, not
Just
even a
little-
whole truck, I think.
So
is
it's not
all
going to
it
mess
is.
us up to get it laid out then? Okay. All right. So, I'll plan on myself or Lester in the morning
Okay.
meeting over there.
Be there.
7:30.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
I think you're good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
I will
you,
try to be
Terry.
back shortly and see what else we've got.
Okay, thanks. We're going to excuse Richard Wilson, our engineer, this morning. Had a death in the family, and we wish him and his family well there, but we're going to excuse him this morning. Lori from Justice Court, come on down.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for working with me because I was scheduled to be here the weekend we had my father's funeral. So I appreciate you working with me on that. Just to start off with, I always look at the budget figures. We are on schedule. You'll see we haven't spent anything on our training budget because everything has been done remotely via WebEx. So that'll be interesting to even predict for next year. We'll see. But we are on schedule where that's concerned. As for our staffing, we were down one clerk, and we were just able this week to do interviews and extend an offer to a young lady who's accepted. We expect her to start on October 18th, and I'm sure Brenda will be bringing that forward for your approval. Basically, court is back to in-person. We are mandated to wear the mask. Court follows the mandates that are outlined by the Judicial Council. They did submit a new order, I think it was last week, in which where we can, we need to try to utilize WebEx where it's feasible, so remotely. And the judges, are going to figure out what that looks like and maybe just take requests on a case-by-case basis based on the needs of individuals. You are probably all aware because we submitted that letter from Judge Miller last week that she does not seek to run again for retention. And I just want to publicly thank her. She'll probably kill me for doing this, but that's okay. We love Judge Miller, and we appreciate all she's done, and she still is with us until the end of 22. But I just want to publicly acknowledge her for all of her years of service. And the other thing I just wanted to tap on is small claims. You know, the Justice Court handles small claims cases up to 11,000. And we just, as of last Monday, went to a system called ODR. So just to make everybody aware, and we've got information on the website about it. Instead of us taking and filing a small claim, receiving an affidavit and a summons, now the individual will do all of that. They'll still have to serve the defendant in the matter, but it goes to a facilitation process. So they log into a system, and it acts much like a messenger system. The plaintiff automatically gets enrolled when they file their affidavit and summons. Defendant, after they're served, has X amount of days, 14, to make sure that they log into the system, and then a facilitator, who is a volunteer, gets involved and tries to help them reach, an understanding or an agreement. If they don't, then it comes back to the court, and then we set a court date for a small claims trial. So a little bit of a process. We had our first filing last week, and thank goodness the lady was patient with us. Because anytime we learn something new, it's, there's an adjustment. ODR, small claims. No, I apologize. We're going to go to reports. I just always like to recap for you, and I'm going back to what I would have presented in August. So a recap of the year, January through June, comparing 2020 to 2021. I would say that we're pretty consistent, pretty flat with what last year produced in terms of the citations written, the types of citations. We're off total and moving violations by about, 463 is what we're showing. And overall cases in the major categories that we track, down about 343. I did think that it was interesting that theft cases, we have 40 less filings than we did the year before. So, hopefully that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Domestic violence down 4. Interesting also, but 40 was I think a fairly significant number. And I always cover, the court is technically, not supposed to be a revenue generator, and the reality is yet that we do. So the total monies collected this year over last year was approximately 40,000 more than the year before. We have dispersed to the state. You can see the number there. So this year, 450,000 has been dispersed to the state and yet it was 426 the year before. So we've retained 24,000 more this year, and then retained in general 15,000 more this year than we did the year before. So what we've retained for the county, 144,000, whereas it was 629 in 2020. And I've talked to Commissioner Cousins. He's aware, and I believe that you're all aware, that there is this task force on justice court reform. We're not sure what that'll end up looking like. Looks like they're moving forward, and there's a lot of discussion and a lot of different things that could happen for the justice courts. And I don't know. I'm
Hope it makes it better than what? JRI? Is that the one that?
Yeah.
It didn't go
There's an
forward?
outside chance that they'll want to just recompose how we look in terms of maybe justice courts will only handle infractions, and then maybe misdemeanor B's and C's will go to a mid-level court that will be created that they might refer to as a division court, or maybe they'll go to district court. It's all I guess up in the air at this point, so let's all just keep our eyes on it.
Let's just cross our fingers that it makes it better.
Yeah. Well,
Sometimes change is hard, but
yeah, and you want to, the county employees, as I was saying, went with this new hire, 10 people. So, we care about our employees, and I just don't want to see anybody's lives impacted or affected. So let's just, just interested to see how that unfolds. I always include the citation report, just to show you how the LEAs are writing citations, and it looks like We were probably in the 9,000 citations approximately for last year that were processed in the Justice Court. And I would say that we're probably, going to be processing about that same amount of caseload. What I do here is the biggest writers are your Cedar City, your Iron County Sheriffs, and your UHP. You'll see that this year it looks like Iron County Sheriffs. I think I can say that Wade Lee's back on the road, and he is a big, he's a big writer of citations and does a good job at,
Keeping us safe.
yeah, in that regard. Any questions for me? You never have questions for me. I'm so grateful.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem.
We appreciate you.
We just don't have any.
Yeah, you do.
Oh,
such
I do have a
great job.
comment though.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me borrow your flags over the weekend.
Oh, Judge Miller.
Did you even know?
No, Judge Miller did tell us, and I saw you kind of not sneak in, but I saw you towards the end of the day go in, so that was fine.
We,
Are they back? She'll want to know.
Oh yeah, they're back.
Okay.
I had to. Well, yeah, it's a long, drawn out story, but we had a legislative event Friday, and then we had a reception for legislators on Friday night, and we had the pledge, and we had the national anthem.
Okay.
So we needed some flags for our event, so I snuck in the courtroom and said I'll have them back before court on Monday, and
And you did.
They're right back where they belong.
All right.
So, but thank
Because
you
Judge
for.
Dunlap's on the
I
bench
would
today.
like to say that Judge Miller, we will really miss her. She's been just a wonderful judge, and it won't be the same without her.
No,
She's
I was
been there so long.
I was telling Commissioner Cousins, Judge Miller, she's fair, she's explanatory, she's compassionate. She, takes time to make sure that people facing charges, the defendants are aware of the system.
It'll be hard
Yeah.
to replace her.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Anyway, thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. Let's go to landfill. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
Just on this first page, couple things. We've been working on the re-permit process. We're getting close. Sometimes things take a while. We're hoping. The one thing that they're asking us to do, and the engineer and the state are going back and forth on this, but we may have to drill another well, monitoring well, and that makes sense. We want to keep things clean and make sure we're not impacting the environment negatively. But that's still, I talked with them Thursday, and we're getting close. So we have 168 new from January 1st to now. I think we had 80 last time I talked, but there's 168 more cans out than there was before. We just finished the fall water sample. There's 3 monitoring wells, one that's up gradient, one that's in the middle of the pit, and then one down gradient. The one inside the pit didn't produce any water this time. We're really quite dry still. The drought has affected that. So we went forward with the other 2, and the state's aware that there's no water coming out of borehole 5. We did finally, since we've been here last, is we ended up purchasing a water truck, a used one from Wheelers. It was a lot less than we thought. We got it for $100,000, and it's a 2019, I think. It's a nice water truck, and so we won't have to lean on Preston so much when we have fires. But since we bought it, we haven't had one fire. So
That's good.
yeah, that's good. Good idea, huh? All our employees are healthy and working. Budget's on track except for vehicle maintenance, and it's going to go over. We've had a few breakdowns, and our secondary compactor's down now we're trying to diagnose and figure out what's the matter with it. It's pretty old. And then on this next page, this is just a snapshot of where we are for 2021 is the first page, and that's from 9/22 to the first of the year. You can see that we've done about 63,000 tons this year, and the year before was 56,000 tons, same date, and the year before that was 50,000 tons. So we went up 3,000 tons between 19 and 20, but we've gone up, what is that, 7,000 tons from 20 to 21. So just shows that the line on the right hand side or the left hand side, it says 31,000 tickets was in, that's how many customers have come through, and 25,000 in 2020. So a lot more people are showing up there, which is a good thing. If they're there, they're not dumping out in the trees. We've got our final load from the train derailment out to Lund. They brought in the contaminated soil, and it was about 1,400 tons of contaminated soil
How many
came from
loads
that.
is that?
What's that?
How many loads is that? Probably truckload.
71.
73.
71. And then, not a hard number, but a preliminary on the things from Enoch was about 1,200 tons from people's that and all that came in at no cost.
From the flooding.
Yeah, from the flooding in Enoch. Well, some of that came from the other floods as well. So there was one in Fiddlers, and then Flying L had very minimal, but still had some. That's it.
I wanted to thank Bruce. We were cleaning flood channels out for, I don't know, what was it, a month at least, and Bruce and his department were just awesome. They'd come out and fuel our equipment every morning, grease it and fuel it, and that was able to keep us going, and just wanted to thank you, Bruce, for your efforts.
you're welcome.
One evening I ran the machine till about 5, and he came out and he said he's going to run it for a few hours, and I came back the next morning at 7, and he was still running. He'd run it all night long. So these guys really enabled us to do our work and keep going. So we appreciate what you did, Bruce.
Well, we're glad to be a part of it.
Thanks.
Okay,
Bruce.
thanks.
Thank you, sir. Preston, the road department.
Want one of those?
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
So I just put on here this summer we were able to get all our chipping done, kind of before we got the flooding, and then basically that's what we've been doing, and that's what we are in the foreseeable future going to be doing. Commissioner Woods asked me to just report how many miles of road we have. We have 270 miles of paved road, 425 miles of graveled road, and 288 miles of dirt road. There's basically four graders that take care of those. And they average, I would say, 5 to 6 miles a day. So it takes 35 days to go over all those roads. So when people are...
Some of them you do more,
Yeah,
and some
yeah.
of them not as much,
Yeah.
depending on the
So
travel.
you're basically 2 to 3 months getting over the roads. I know that people are always wondering where we're at, but that's basically that. And then since August 18th, when we started getting our floods, we've got we do have 640 hours of trucking, 200 hours of the loader work, 80 hours of track hoe. That's just us. There was actually 2 other track hoes that the engineer department had, which I didn't get that's what Paul and Bruce and Curtis have been running, and they would have a lot more hours. You'd probably into the 300 or 400 hours on that with those, I would imagine. But
I don't know what Curtis had, but the machine we rented from Phil Schmidt, we had 158 hours on that machine. So.
And then you can just figure Curtis is that. Plus, he's still been working on flood stuff. So,
Right.
Dozer, we had 150 hours of dozer, 400 hours of the grader, 160 hours of backhoe, 30 hours of skidster, and there's just still a lot of cleanup. I mean, we're a month,
More.
probably 2 months anyway, of flying nail. The piles just keep. We
Coming.
leave on Thursday, they're about gone, and then you drive by there this
They're all
morning,
back
like,
out there
holy
now.
cow. So, and they just keep piling up. It's crazy how much sediment is in there, and how quick Mother Nature can put it in there.
Are you still hauling that just down the road to that development?
They've been taken to there, and if it's dirty, they take it over to the Bullock pit. But,
Oh, that's been a blessing, hasn't it, having that real close haul?
oh yeah. And one guy took some for his arena that has it right there. So, yeah, if people are closer than those areas, we're more than willing to just take it over there to them.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, kind of helps everybody out.
Did you actually have the dozer in there cleaning up too?
No, but we had it in the channels.
Oh, okay.
Where we had some roads out, like in the Bald Hills, that really got washed out. So all over, it didn't just hit there. It's Canara Mountain, the road really got ate up. Cedar Mountain, Webster's Flat,
Clear out west was bad too, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Did you have?
out to Gold
repairs
Springs, and that's still the gold mine actually straightened the road out up there for us before we got there, so that was good too. So.
Marilyn and I ran down Saturday to a viewing for Donna Craze, and we drove over to look at that retention basin or detention pond on the south end. That Curtis was working in.
On the south
Just-
of Canara.
Oh, down at Canara, yeah.
And he moved a lot of material out of that. It was amazing how much just that last flood brought back in. And it
Oh,
filled it
yeah.
back up. Just in that one storm, it was crazy.
Yeah, I want to say, Rich got a glass of just a cup full of the water over to Flying L that day, and I want to say it was between 30 and 40%
Yeah.
sediment in there. Took us.
I think they got hit 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mother Nature
but-
can definitely do a lot more than we can
Oh yeah.
in a
yeah.
couple hours.
So I want to give a shout out to Preston. What a great job he's done with all these floods. It's been hard. All of these guys. I mean, it's totally a different thing than what we've been doing. But I have talked to a lot of the residents in that area, and they said his guys have been nothing but just so wonderful and pleasant and do anything. And I just want to give a shout out to them because you guys have done such a great job.
All right. Well, thanks.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. I get nervous up here.
We'll get you out of here quick.
Thanks.
See you in the morning. Thanks.
We didn't talk to Bruce about. Can we have a little bit of report on the excavator that you had looked at? I forgot to ask you about that.
I still haven't heard back. I think their Bo had one found, and I don't think it was in the shape that he thought it was going to be, and it was going to take a lot to get it fixed. They're just hard to get, and he
Good
had one
ones.
found, and I think
So we're just still looking.
we're
looking
still
at
waiting,
that.
still looking for a good one.
The landfill will get an excavator, and then we will be able to use that on our channels when we need to, or in emergency and that type
Oh,
of thing. But it'll
absolutely.
be the landfill, and I think the road department will also be able to use that in certain
That
instances.
makes sense.
Well, and that's the problem we've had is every time we have a little project, whether it's culverts or tearing down the bleachers or whatever, we pull Curtis off his flood control work, and he gets behind. So that'll be nice to have another machine.
So it's still out there. We just haven't found. The one we had found wasn't in the shape that it just wasn't worth.
Well,
the
I'm
work.
glad they, didn't bring us one that wasn't in the good shape we need.
Me too. Last thing you want is to be fixing something all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce. Paul Monroe from the Water Conservancy District. Come on down.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm happy to be here. It was a little bit of a late night or early morning, one of the two. My little boy last night fell off of our playhouse and hit his head, and so we watched him till about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then ended up taking him to the ER. So it was. I'm not 100%, is what I'm saying. So don't hold that against me. But he's doing okay.
Good.
So he had a little fracture and little things, but he's fine. So I wanted to just commend the commission in the way that you have obtained and put out the finances from the ARPA funding. We really appreciate all the work that you put into that, and the way that you've really leveraged and put ourselves in a good position, I think, going forward. We've been able to use those funds, and hopefully I don't think we've heard yet, right, as far as financing on that, if they've awarded.
They said they've, they set aside what was it, HB 1004. They set aside $50 million. And I think the last I heard, they had over $1 billion in requests.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So it'll
Might
be
not get as much as we had hoped.
But I think that they've realized, and all of the needs that we submitted were all crucial needs for everybody. Right. And I think they're realizing that, and I think they're looking at finding more. I think there's another $150 million they were going to look at, and maybe even more beyond that. So if we don't get some this round, I hope we do on the others.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I just think that it's really been unifying and a really smart
So
step.
Dan Jessen put that all together. We didn't do as much work. I mean, we, asked him to do that, but Dan isn't here today, but we need a shout out for him because he's done a really good job on that.
Yeah, he did. I appreciate working with him too. He's a great guy. I'm going to move on. Just I know a lot of you are aware, but with our Pine Valley Water Supply Project, I know you've been in touch with the BLM, or they've reached out to you as far as our application. We have finalized the draft EIS, the draft Environmental Impact Statement, and that has been approved through our local office. It went up to the state office, and they thoroughly reviewed it, and it was approved there. And then it went back to the national DC office, the BLM office there, and they have reviewed it. It took some time, and they have approved it, but we're still waiting on one signature. And so that signature is from one of the lead at the BLM, and it's, I think we're on 3 weeks now that we've been waiting for this signature, even though it has been approved. And so we're looking at seeing if we might need to get a hold of some of our congressional delegates and our congressional leaders and just see if we need to push that along. But the good news is the review that we received from that, and that is that NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act, that was started back in 1977 or 76, I think 76. Basically, the term that is used is we needed to do a better job of taking a hard look. We needed to take a harder look at what impacts might occur. And so since then, of course, there's been a lot of case law, and there's been a lot of changes in the whole program. But needless to say, of all of those things, we have all of those things available to us, and we feel like we've done a really good job taking that hard look. In other words, we feel like we've analyzed everything aside from going out there and actually digging and picking up rocks and digging the actual trench. I think we've covered everything. And so we feel really good about that, and we feel good about the results from what those offices have come back and told us, from the state and national levels. They, typically if there was something that was missing, they're on it too, right? They're on the hook. They would be sued as well. And so they want to make sure that what your product is, that you've actually done your due diligence. And so where we didn't receive any feedback from the state, I think the state we had to make a couple adjustments, but from the national level we didn't have to make any. So we feel confident with that. There's since I think I'm trying to remember the last time we met, but I know that everyone's aware that the groundwater management plan is in place, and just so that the significance of the water issues in our basin. Just to note, I mean, just Cedar City alone, they stand to lose up to 80% of their total water rights over the time frame of that. And there's that, coupled with this last year was the driest year on record, over 127 years. And then we got, as was mentioned just barely, we had some of the most significant monsoon flooding that has ever happened on record. So needless to say, we know that there are water issues. But luckily, we've been here and we have been looking at solutions for decades. And the project that I just mentioned, the Pine Valley Water Supply Project, we've been working on that for nearly 2 decades now, 16 years. And that's going to be something that is really proving itself that it is very needed. Some of our other solutions, some of our kind of here local solutions that we have are to balance our aquifer, and that includes, we have plans over the next 3 years to develop some well fields further in the north end of the basin, so there's not so much draw in the south where we have significant water declines. This last year we saw water levels decline 10 feet in a lot of the municipal wells in a lot of those those areas where we draw from municipally.
Paul,
Yeah.
previously they were like 3 to 5.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Previously, on average, it's been 3 to 5 feet of decline, and that just shows the impact of those last.
The drought.
Yeah. Cumulatively, you look at the 2-year drought, and it was a significant drought. There was a couple of others that were close. One back in 1960, that was the driest drought previous to this last one. But I mean, the positive side, though, like I said, there are solutions, and we did get some rain. It all came at once. Maybe not in the form that we wanted. A lot of it came down, and 30, 40, sometimes 60% of it was sediment, and that causes a lot of damage and is really hard to manage. But I do want to say thanks again to Iron County and your different entities, those that were here. Both Bruce and Preston have helped, not only as what was mentioned today with our community, but they've helped developed other resources for our water, primarily out at Quichapa this last fall. They've been a tremendous help, loaning equipment, loaning people, and providing services so that we were able to take quite a bit of water out there at Quichapa that was from some of this flash floods. As I sampled the water, I did the same thing, dipped the water in and saw there was 40% sediment or more, and then I analyzed that to see how much salts and minerals were in there, TDS, and in some cases it was up to 3,000 TDS, and drinking water is below 500. That's really what we can put back in the aquifer too, is anything like 500 or below. And so not only do these flash floods have trees and rocks the size of Volkswagen cars, but they also come down with some pretty nasty water that you can't filter out those salts and those minerals in there. So, but we do have things in place. We have Quichapa Lake, where we can now take that and pump it up to an agricultural producer, and we're excited about that. We've got other recharge projects that we can take and put the winter water in, and those have all been cooperative efforts from all of our local governments. And so I'm just happy to be a part of that, and happy to be part of a community that helps one another. I'm just going to highlight really quickly on our budget, our revenue. We are projected to be up 25 to 30% above what we had initially budgeted, and so Some of that has to do with the drought as well. People use more water, but most of it has to do with exceeding the amount of homes that have been put in, and or what we had budgeted. And but a majority of that is the mine and their water usage. So that's a significant part of that.
Paul, just a question on the mine.
Yeah.
So when we approved that back when I was on the board, I can't remember how many years ago that was, but that was kind of going to be, I mean, not real short, but more of a temporary fix until we get a new well drilled out in Basin 71, right?
Yeah.
How far off are we on that?
Yeah, I think that's something we're looking at too. I mentioned that aquifer balance, and that's part of that as well. As we're looking at getting a bond and doing a large capital project where we will develop some water lines that may go further north and potentially further west, and have that well out in that area. So we're looking at all those things. We've got an application in. We were holding off the application for that bond for the federal government's new year, which is October 1, because a lot of this additional funding and ARPA funding, the entity we're going through is USDA, the rural development side. And so we can get 1.75% and potentially 30 to 40% grant on that. And so, yeah, that's something that we'll be looking at. To stay on that same note, as far as that project goes, you may be of interest. We're looking at installing 3 new water tanks, a 2 million gallon reservoir above the Bridle Path subdivision will be up a little bit higher. That'll increase the pressure for the main populace that we serve, and also provide larger storage. So right now it's I think a 350,000 gallon, and we're going to put in a 2 million gallon there, and another 2 million gallon reservoir or tank. We call them reservoirs, but tank above Cross Hollows subdivision, above the Northridge subdivision. We've got a site there, and then we'll put another larger tank up at Cedar Highlands. So
Those be metal or cement?
we're concrete, concrete, and we'll try and bury those. So. The last thing I wanted to highlight, and I'll turn over time to questions for you, is within the agenda item, I think it's number 5 during your regular meeting, is an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with Enoch City, Iron County, the Water District, and Cedar City, to come up with some plans to better utilize the wastewater treatment effluent. And this is just a really good program that the NRC has available, where we could use, where we could receive a 75% funding for all of the environmental, the engineering, and construction. So they'll pay for all of that. They'll pay for engineering and environmental 100%, but the construction they'd pay for 75% of it, and the other 25% would be sweat equity. So,
Wow.
Anyway, it's a kind of a long-term planning process, as most of those are, going through those federal agencies, NRCS. So
But we need this study to begin with, right?
Need the study to begin with, and the MOU just basically says that there's no obligations from anyone.
Yeah.
But the county is the lead on that. So I know that the district has already passed it, and Enoch has passed it as well, and I know it was on Cedar City's agenda, and I'm not sure what they did. I'll have to check on that. But so, any questions?
Good.
don't
I
think
have
so.
a comment.
Yeah.
So Paul and I went up to a UAC conference.
Uh-huh.
They recognized Iron County for all of our recharge projects and all of that. I thought that was pretty amazing that somebody, at one of those big conferences, that's a statewide conference. That was pretty neat to me.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah. So they realize what we're doing,
Yeah. Yeah, it's and a big thanks to again, like I said, all of you for helping, and of course Paul has been a big proponent of that, of let's get it done, and luckily we have, and we've been able to put a lot of water in there over the years.
Good.
Yeah, thank you for everything.
Thanks,
Okay.
Paul. Appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Thanks, Paul.
Commission. Want to start us out
Should I
today?
start?
Sure.
I'll try to hurry. I got quite a bit. Like I said, we went to the UAC conference up in Midway, Utah. It was a good conference. They talked about a lot of different things. The relationships that you build with the other commissioners and that are really valuable, I think, down the road, and I think can help us a lot. Burgess Owens was one of the speakers, and what a nice guy. I had never met him before, so that was really fun. One of the other speakers was William Perry Penley, which I was really excited to meet because of he was Ronald Reagan's Interior Secretary, and then he's was actually in the Trump administration also. He's worked a lot with the environmental movement, the extremists, and that type of thing, and written a couple of books, and so that was really, really interesting to me. That was on 15th and 16th. On the 20th, several of us with the engineer went out and to Paraguna. So they had flooding that we needed to look at, the channels that we need to clean and that type of thing. We met with Ted Cook, and I just want to tell him how appreciative we are of him. I worked with him years ago at Albertsons, and he's such a great guy. He bought some property, and the previous owner to this property wouldn't let them do anything, and he was in the flood zone, and he just wouldn't allow him to do anything. Steve Platt had talked to him several times. So Ted buys this property, and he said, whatever the city needs, I'm up for it. So he went down. We talked to him. His one corner flooded out. He said, take the channel across that corner. There's another issue with Paraguna that they have a road up that comes out of the canyon, the very steep, that it floods quite often. In fact, they said a lot of times, like 3 times a year, and the channel comes across that road, and so there isn't a second way for those people that are above that canal to get out of town or to get away. And Ted has also said, the mayor, take as much roadway as you need off of this property. And he's only bought this property a few years ago. And he's already giving up channel, and he's already given up road. Now, if we had more people that would be more concerned with our communities, just think of how wonderful that would be. I mean, that's a lot to give up your private property for the benefit of your town. And so I just wanted to give him a little shout out there because, I think that's important. On the 24th, we had a redistricting, and these guys will probably talk about that a little more. It was a hearing, and Paul and I was able to talk at that public hearing. Paul talked about how important it is for the rural Utah, and I'm very, very concerned with the redistricting that we lose Chris Stewart. He has been such an advocate for us ranchers that have wild horses on trying to get those managed, and it would be a very, very big loss to rural Utah, and especially Iron County and Beaver County, to lose him on that. So anyway, and also then on the 25th, which was last Saturday, we had a nice little program. At the Three Peaks area, and we was able to get the deed, the documents, so that Iron County actually took possession for our recreational area, and it's been an ongoing thing for like 20 years, and we finally got the paperwork. I took it down this morning for them to record it, and Iron County will get that Three Peaks area. which is really exciting to me. Lois Bullock, Maria Twitchell did such a great job planning that, and she put her name on one of the nice pavilion there as the Lois Bullock Pavilion. What a great honor that was for her, and she was thrilled and very humbled by that honor. Paul Briggs came out and presented that, and so that was really nice. Mike and Paul came. We had a nice little. It was mostly Lois's family, of course, and then some of the other people in the county, but that was nice to finally get that taken care of. So, my report.
Good. I'll be brief. This last week I traveled to Salt Lake and attended this community development block grant board meeting. I'm a new member of that board, and that is a board that administers HUD, Housing and Human Development, from the federal government. So they give the different 5 county AOGs money, and we have staff that distributes that money. Just an example, we applied for $200,000 grant from that fund for our Newcastle fire station, and we were awarded that. And so we look at different requests and rate those and their importance and administer that funding. That was an interesting process. Let's see, we talked about laying out the fairgrounds. They, like I said, they got the wooden bleachers. That was kind of a historic thing. Those things were 100 years old and a lot of nostalgia, and I know that was sad to see those go. But, you know, as we were tearing those down, I took a lot of pictures of very rotten wood that people were sitting on. It was past time, probably 20 years past time that those came down. They were just dangerous, flat out. And so Carter Enterprises received the bid they're erecting that building up on that pad that's poured now. They're going to get a new building there. It's 40 by 80. And then they've also got the structure. So Preston, our road superintendent, is going to build the pad this week. Carter Enterprises will come in, pour a slab, erect that structure, so it'll be similar to the one that's already there, and they will install some bleachers. There's a gentleman named Tom with Southern Bleacher Company. I've been in communication with him. We're going to need to take delivery of those bleachers soon, and then when we're ready, he'll come and install those. That might be December before we get that done, but it's going to be a nice addition. And then we've talked about, as a commission this year, we just keep, and this is Mike's wheelhouse, but we just we've had so much interest in the fair these last couple of years. It's just record turnouts, and I think Mike said they had to actually refund some money this year because so many people had bought tickets and it was a little oversold. But we need to look at a general plan and see what we're going to do. We've actually met with Parowan City a couple of times. We're in negotiations with them. They may actually deed the fairgrounds over to Iron County. We have more resources than they do. We have a road department that can go in through road graders and gravel and clean some of the things up, and so we're looking at negotiation there where it'll be a win-win for Parowan City. I think their number one concern is that we never move the fairgrounds, and as me and I know these other two commissioners, we have no intention of ever thinking about that. I personally love coming to Parowan, the small town feel, and it's a beautiful facility. It just needs some work. There's some leaks in the building that's there. We need more seating. There's talk about taking out the racetrack. It just doesn't get used hardly ever anymore. And just clean it up, give more parking, and just do some nice improvements. So working through that. I attended a quilt guild at the new addition to the senior center this last week, and it's fun to see. We added 5,000 square feet to that building with COVID funds, and the people that use that facility are just ecstatic. Those quilt guild people, good grief, there must have been, I don't know how many, probably over 100 people there doing quilts, and they use that basement every week, and it's nice to see that facility used. One other thing, I sit on the public health and behavioral health boards for 5 county association governments, and that's Beaver, Iron, Kane, Garfield, and Washington County. and we're looking at restructuring some of that. So I'll probably give some more details later, but that's something I'm involved in that. But that's all I have.
Just a couple of things really quick. So we had it was interesting. You guys were at the UAC conference. I got a call just a couple of days before. I wasn't able to attend the UAC conference. I had some other commitments. One thing that came up, though, during that time, so Southern Utah University hosted the First Lady of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And I had her name practiced, but I'm not going to butcher it today. She has a foundation in her country to identify gifted kids that would benefit from scholarships to pursue higher education. Southern Utah University was chosen as one of the schools that will receive some of those kids. And there's 5 students from the Democratic Republic of the Congo attending Southern Utah University on these scholarships. But the First Lady came to show her appreciation for Southern Utah University, and as well as a show of support for those students. I attended those meetings. Was able to meet with her and express, our appreciation from the county as far as her commitment to higher education. It turned out to be a really good event, and it was kind of a last-minute event. Well, it wasn't a last-minute event on their part. It was a last-minute event to call us, but it worked out okay. It was really good. Talked a little bit about the redistricting. The redistricting hearing took place on Friday. That goes back to, I was actually at an event up north with a bunch of legislators, including Representative Paul Ray, who's the committee chairman for that redistricting committee. Every time we have a census count, the legislature has to go through and look at new population centers and to make sure that the representation is equal through different districts. When I talked to Representative Ray back in, I think it was in July, maybe. Anyway, we encouraged him to. He was saying that they're going to take these hearings on the road, and we encouraged him to come to Iron County, come to Southern Utah University. And that's kind of how that redistricting thing got here, the redistricting hearing. We hosted a dinner for the legislators Friday night after the event. There wasn't very many people that attended. We actually invited every elected official in Iron County, including all the city councils, everybody from all of our municipalities. It was good. It was really good because there wasn't a ton of people there, but we were able to sit down with some of those representatives and really reinforce the fact that we really need rural representation. And we did drive home the fact that we really like Representative Stewart, Congressman Stewart, and really appreciate what he's done for us. So it's great to be able to kind of testify to the whole committee, and then it was really good to sit down with some of them over chicken and creme brulee, and get some things worked out to really make sure that they understand what kind of some of our needs in rural Utah. So
I was glad that Mike was able to go to that, and Paul and I had other commitments. There was so much going on this last weekend. Right. There was just homecoming and rodeos and all
everybody was in different directions, but I think we got things covered pretty well.
And I was glad Mike was there.
So that was really good, but that's all. I'm just going to leave it at that. We're about 10 after 10. Let's just take 5 minutes, and sometimes it helps to get a couple of procedural things out of the way. We'll come back. We're waiting on John to hit
Oh,
play.
we're waiting
We
on
good?
John.
Okay,
Not our fault.
we're back. Let's go ahead with agenda item number 1, today's public comments. Remind folks that there's a 3-minute time limit. Not repeat other people's comments, only items that are not agendized, and no items relating to the commission's roles and appeal board. Comments should be directed to the commission and no attacks on other people's character. So we'll open the time up for 3-minute comments. And come to the podium, state your name for the record. And
Okay, my name is Paul Davis. I'm representing Canary Field and Irrigation Company and also R.G. Williams Family Ranch. We want to thank the county for their work on Canary Mountain and redoing the road up there. There is a culvert there that keeps rocking up with these storms. We would like the road commission to kind of look at that on Canary Mountain and see if the culvert could be moved farther to the west or something, other solution so that the water, when that culvert rocks up, doesn't run down the roadway. And if it was snowy or wet or something, it would be almost impossible to get out of there with that happening. The other thing is with Canary Field and Irrigation Company, I had a stockholder call me, Mike Coronado, said he had talked to you commissioners and that flood control down on the north side of Canaryville was the irrigation company's problem and not the county's problem. Well, I've had land down in Canaryville, and Steve Platt came to me and he asked for a right away to dig, a flood control across 10 acres there, and so we gave him that. That's just to show that the county has been involved in that flood control situation down there for a long period of time, and so we feel that the county is still in charge of that now. The irrigation company owns 9.2 CSF. That's all the irrigation company owns. Everything above that, which doesn't happen very often, flood, yes, would happen, goes down the channel, the regular natural channel to that flood control there. So we don't feel as the irrigation company that that value above 9.2 CSF is actually the irrigation company's water that is going down there, and we don't feel that the irrigation company is causing a problem. Now, I'm aware of one of the irrigation company board members wouldn't let the county in there on his private property, but we just want you to know as an irrigation company that we see it kind of as a safety issue. Sometime it's going to rain again, or when the snow melts in the spring, it's going to flood there again. So we would like the county to fix that dike, maybe, in whatever manner could be done. Maybe the dirt out of the borrow pit. There's plenty of dirt and stuff there, and underneath the highway that could be put back up on the side of the flood control. Anyway, thank you for your hearing me and hearing the irrigation company's point of view on this. Any questions?
So
That's on the north side, right?
Yes.
we're at Breach the Dike and came down. So Merrill and I went down to a viewing Saturday, and we stopped and looked at that. And the challenge I see is, would they be amenable to us removing some of the trees? Because the problem with you get that, really the only way to clean those and do a good job is using an excavator. And those trees on the east side of the bank are in the way. It's hard to maneuver an excavator without hitting those trees with a boom. Would
Now-
they be upset if we removed some of those trees if we to maintain that? Because
That's the
it's hard to
problem.
get in there with a backhoe and do a good job. You need
I-
a machine that can move some major material to do it right. And so
I understand that, and I understand who the property owner is, and I don't know that I can convince him to do that, but I will certainly give it a try.
I just don't know that with a backhoe we can really do a sufficient job to
But
keep it from happening again.
I just wanted the county to understand what the irrigation company's position is, that we only own so much water, and that's not nearly the water that would take to, flood that bank out.
So precedent shows the county has maintained that, is what you're saying, in the past.
Yeah, I'm saying yes, that Steve Platt came to me farther down on that, where the natural flow, and came to me, there was 10 acres there.
Now is that
Where it turns
is that
90
on
degree.
the west side of the highway?
Yeah, on the west side of the
Or it
highway.
crosses under the highway?
Yeah, down there farther. So there is a history. I mean, Steve Platt came to me and he wanted to, increase the channel farther along there so it would flow better. So we let him in there and did that. So, and they been in there and maintained it in the past. And so there is a history of the county maintaining that.
A good example of that was behind Flying L. They had all those big cottonwoods on the banks of the canal, and we couldn't get in there and adequately maintain it. And we tried our best, but we could. So,
But they were on the personal properties too.
right, there was a lot of pushback and resistance to those trees being removed. But after this big flood, they said go ahead and do it. There was more of an appetite after they had so much damage, and so we were able to remove those trees and make that channel much safer. So do you think you could, I mean, we can obviously talk to Mr. Presswich, right? Is he
That's
the owner
correct.
there?
That's correct.
I don't know if you have some sway with him. Maybe you could talk to him and just say, look, the county could probably go in there and do that, but we need to be able to remove some trees so we can do our work. You hate to remove trees. You hate to remove trees, right? It just.
I will try and do my part
Okay.
to get that accomplished, but I'm not sure that I can do that. But anyway, I will talk to him about doing that, and we agree, as far as that. But I see that flood control, it has been there before he even owned the property, and so
It concerns me because of the road, because I'm over the roads, and where that washes over, if it took out that road, we'd be in trouble.
well, and even
That's the main-
even a safety hazard as far as somebody coming along in there and hitting a lot of water going
Yeah.
across that road.
Yes.
Well, I was the night that it flooded. I was on the phone with folks in Canaryville. I was headed down there to help. At like 3:34 in the morning, and it was raining so hard when I came through there that you couldn't see the hood of your car. I was actually on the phone with my wife trying to get some things coordinated, and I hit that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what my comment was to my wife on the phone, but I was. I mean, really, it could have been a real problem. I mean, I was lucky. I just kind of hydroplaned through the middle of it and then hit solid ground again. But yeah, that was a scary situation in the pitch black coming through there.
The engineers thought that the irrigation company should take care of that, and that we would just put that little ditch, but that's not going to hold enough to even do
No.
anything. So
I'm just I'm just stating
I know it's
kind
an
of
issue.
our position
We
is, and
understand.
that we don't own,
That property.
only a certain amount of water, and we try to take care of that up at the mouth of the canyon and send it down to the irrigators. And
So you're down below Coronado's then.
the
the
property
west.
that I had, that Steve Platt came in and extended the canal, and the county went in and cleaned it out every so often. And
Yeah.
Well, and I agree. The material we're cleaning out of the detention basin on the south end there, we need a place to put that, and it would be good to haul it down there and beef up that bank because it's washed a lot of that out. So I think that's a good idea. So
okay,
we'll work on it.
okay, thank you,
Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is William Pressgrove. I've got a word of admonition for the commission. The country is $30 trillion into debt, but yet the federal government continues to throw out grants and all kinds of fishing line, so to speak, to get counties and states and local governments to buy into their we'll give you this money, but you got to do it our way attitude. I even talked to Evan Vickers about the what was it, 1.3 trillion or something like that, or billion that they were going to give. I think it was 1.3 billion that they were going to give each state. And I said, don't take it. He said, well, if we don't take it, somebody else will. Well, that may be true, but if you don't take it, you're setting a precedent for your state that you're not going to kowtow to the federal government every time they throw out money. County can do the same thing. I know that it might hurt the pocketbook for a little bit because we don't always have the money that we want to do what we want to do. But every time we do it, we take the money from the state or the federal government, then there are always strings attached, and we always end up having to do it their way or the highway. I'd rather go the highway because then I'm in control of what happens in my county instead of putting the state or the federal government in charge and in control of us. So that was my admonition. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Riley Clark. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this morning. I want to talk to you about the flooding. And I know that you have heard a lot about it, and I'm confident that you're fully aware of the damages, and I know the county's been very active in responding to that and has done a great job, and I've participated myself, and I appreciate that. But I'm looking to the future, and I am concerned that the county is not planning for the rain. I've recently moved to the area just a couple of years ago. I'm a civil engineer with 30 years of land development experience, and my specialty was primarily hydrology and hydraulics. Hydrology is the calculation of stormwater runoff. And it has been my experience in other areas that is required. Anytime a project is produced, they must produce a hydrology report, and so that they know how much water is going through a project, and then the hydrology to deal with that. FEMA standards are 100-year storms, and that's very common to design for a 100-year storm. Projects are submitted here, and it's my understanding the county doesn't even have a hydrology manual. It doesn't have any planning for the hydrology. And this kind of goes two ways. One, of course, is the private developers preparing for the stormwaters that will reach their developments so that their properties are not endangered. It also goes for the county in planning for your storm drain channels. The gentleman was just talking about a storm drain channel coming out of Canaryville. How much water is there? We don't know because it's not been calculated, but it can be. And so I encourage the county to adopt hydrology standards, to develop a hydrology manual, to require that to be presented, and that developers prepare for that and plan for that, and that the county plan for that, so that we can prevent this sort of flooding in the future, so that it doesn't come as a big surprise, and that we know where the water's going and how much will be there and what we're going to do with it. I'm happy to, I don't mean to be presumptive, but I'd be happy to assist the county and answer any questions you have, and volunteer my time there to help the county move forward in that endeavor. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer that. But
Would you give your information to John so that we could?
I'd be happy
get,
to, of course.
Yeah, I would love that.
That would be great.
We've talked about using people that have moved into our community to help us with certain areas, and sounds like exactly what we need.
Maybe you could visit with Reed, and then our engineer. He's not here today, but
Sure.
Rich Wilson. If you're willing to volunteer some time, I think that's
Absolutely.
welcome. And back in '05, we had over a 200% snowpack on Cedar Mountain, and they were very worried about how fast it was going to come down. And
Yep.
there was a lot of work done back then on some major flood channels that were built in the valley to handle that, and that was a good thing that happened. But obviously, it takes maintenance and
Well, and I know the people who have a good sense for the water and good rule of thumb, and they know that about this big will probably be good enough, but will it? We don't know. And I think it'd be worth running the engineering and saying, okay, 100-year storm comes through here, it's going to be this much volume and this velocity, and will this channel handle it? And building it correctly so it's not overbuilt, but it also is not underbuilt.
What was this last storm, Mike? Was it like a 500-year? I mean, it was a monster.
Kept going up. At the end, the National Weather Service tagged it as a 1,000-year storm. It kind of each storm we had went up. It was a 500-year. Then they said it was a 600-year. When all was said and done, they came back and said this was a 1,000-year storm.
I talked to old timers here that live there all and they've never seen a storm like that one.
Yeah.
But it's
Any of them.
But it's good to prepare.
Any of them.
That's a statistical thing, the 1,000-year.
Right.
And you don't plan for the 1,000-year.
Well, and that's what, we told some of our residents as we talked to them, how much money are you willing to put in there for a 1,000-year storm? I mean, we don't know. Maybe we'll have one next year. We don't know,
No, you don't.
The unknown is the biggest, thing. So, yeah.
We, Flying L, it was hit so hard, and those people, some of them, they have 4 feet of sediment in their yards, and so we obviously help them with that quite a bit. But there's some property owners to the north that have 20 and 40 acre plots that some silt came across their property, maybe an inch to 6 inches or whatever. And, some asked us, well, what are you going to do to come clean up our silt? We said, well, if everybody wants us to clean up everything after a flood, we can double your taxes, but I don't think everybody wants us to do that. Right?
Well,
it's just, you can't, you do the best you can, but
it's the dirt that has flooded out there for years and years. I mean, nobody went in and put great topsoil over 20 acres or 40 acres. It's the same dirt that's always been there. And they're like, oh, it's ruined everything. And I'm like, disc it and plant it, I mean, fertilize it, I mean, it's actually good dirt. My husband used to haul some of that dirt right out of the ponds by the airport all over town. I mean, dirt, loads and loads, all over town. So that's the dirt that we have, and so you utilize it. The fences are a little shorter or whatever, but yeah. So
it is good dirt.
We appreciate the insight. We recognize as folks move in, we have a lot of expertise of people coming into the area, and we would certainly like to tap that and involve people that are willing to be involved with solutions. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
really do.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'm Kenneth Bauer. Remember back in 2012, Enoch spent about $1.5 million. They got about $1 million from the federal government. They got another $500,000 from them.
NRCS, yeah.
And they put a big pipe down the Utah Trail and said that they've alleviated all our flooding problems. You'll never see another flood like that. Well, this last year they're right. We got one that was worse. But my wife looked up some stuff on the internet. Iron County usually gets around 13 inches of rain a year.
If we're lucky.
Yes, well, that's the average, 13 inches a year. And in that 3 weeks, we got 15 inches of rain.
In 9 days.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody can plan for a flood like that or do anything. That is just too much water. I mean, you'd have to go back a little while, but ask the people in Noah's time what they did about their water. I mean, when the Lord sends it, he really sends it, and there's just not much us puny little people can do. We just got to kind of deal with it. And I think the people done pretty much the best they could, and I was pretty proud of this community. I really was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dave Mioneer. I'm here today with Color Country Tree Service. First of all, my problem doesn't seem like a problem with all that's going on, and I appreciate the commission and all the actually important and noble things you've dealt with. So this is just an issue. My son and I own a commercial tree company, and we take only things from trees, branches, stumps, and things out to the dump, and pay the same fees as any commercial contractor would, even for stuff they're just going to bury and fill up the pit with. And so I just have a concern, and I feel like, and I don't know the economics of what the county does with, they grind it and then they resell the chips, the shavings, and so making some money there. I don't know if that comes out net positive or not. I feel like maybe it would be warranted if the county, and it sounds like this might be a state thing, but if the county has a lever to, if it's only the wood that goes in the pile that eventually disappears, that there might be a warranted smaller fee for that.
I think there was no charge for green stuff like that.
If you're a commercial contractor, they charge you by weight no matter what.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
If it's personal, they don't, but commercial.
Yeah, you can take, if you're just pulling them out of your yard, which we're pulling them out of people's yards, but it's commercial.
Oh,
We're paid for that.
I wasn't aware of
So
that.
the distinction is in the
Yeah.
commercial. And I know
Most of it is in cubic yards,
Mhm.
and that's how they charge. Commercial is higher, but
so they weigh him. They weigh as he goes in and out. He fills up
Yes,
a dump trailer.
yes,
They weigh him
yes.
on the way in and the way out, and
Yep.
he pays us $17 per ton. And so, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's different. I know there are some distinctions when it comes to asbestos and stuff. You're paying more, so it seems like maybe on the other end of it, you could pay less, and it would incentivize not to make burn piles and all the different things we try and do with all that extra wood. That may be beneficial, and maybe, I mean, you're getting money right now for the weight, but maybe there would be more money in additional.
I could ask. That's my department. I could ask Bruce about that and see whether that would be possible.
options
But
there.
yeah, an option. I'm sure he'll have a reasoning for why or whatever. But
Yeah, I did bump into him on my way up here. I hated to miss an opportunity to address the council, and
yeah,
he seemed to think it was a state thing, a little bit bigger than the council.
and that
but
might be too. Yeah,
I would
yeah.
appreciate
But I'll
it.
have him check into that.
Okay, thank
Dave,
you.
why don't you give Marilyn your contact number?
Okay, contact information. Did you say?
Yeah.
Okay, 435-590-1205. And I know Bruce well. He was the scariest guy in my high school.
Yes,
now he's
he
the nicest
was.
guy ever.
He
We
was
all chat.
wild, huh?
Okay.
Thanks.
Scott Stubbs. Today I'm here representing the Public Lands Council. Before January, I knew very little about the Public Lands Council. I'd heard just a little bit, seen a few Facebook posts. They put me on a grazing committee, and so I had a meeting once a month all winter, and I learned that the Public Lands Council, they've been around since 1968 to keep us as grazers on the land, to keep local communities access to the public lands, and that's kind of been their thing. So Utah is one of the states that makes up the Public Lands Council. I started sharing information from this with my Farm Bureau grazing group, and they're all like, well, how do we be members? And I said, I think we're just members. Well, finally they prodded me enough that I looked into it. Come to find out, we were just about to be kicked out because we hadn't paid our dues. The dues before had always been paid through the BLM advisory board money. That's a portion of our grazing fees that's collected for range betterment. Around 2000, give or take, they did away with the advisory boards. So the state GIP program picked up this money and brought it around and added it to money from forest, from state monies, so they do a lot of range improvement programs. A year ago, they audited that program and they said state cannot pay for a lobbying group, which the Public Lands Council is. That's what their deal is. They're very well organized, on the national scene. In Utah, we've never been organized, which is part of the problem. We was getting our fees paid. None of us public land users even knew to use them when we're having battles. So I asked for a little extension through October to try and come up with the $25,000 fee. And so I'm asking Iron County, along with, I've already asked Beaver, Washington, Kane, Garfield, Millard, Paiute, Wayne County. I've asked them for $1,000, and most all have pledged that they would do that.
This is a one-time thing.
A one-time thing. Now, after we're organized, it may be something that you would want to join. We need to, I think our county governments need to be involved in this, because public land's big to our rural communities. But our grazers also need to know that this is there to help them, because that's what they're supposed to work on. When I told Commissioner Bullock about this, he's like, well, why didn't they help us on the monuments? Well, it's hard to help somebody that doesn't ask sometimes. So, but anyway, he sees great value in this. So I guess I'm asking this. I did get the extension through October, so if it needs to become an agenda item for next time or whatever, that would be, it's not quite the 911 I thought it was when I planned to come, but anyway, so thank you.
Hey, Scott, why don't you get with John and have it agendized for next time?
And in fact, in the clerk's office downstairs, just talk to Chanel and ask her to put that on the agenda. We'll get the verbiage just right.
Okay.
Just tell her I asked you to visit with her.
Okay. Now, can you do this without me, or have I got to come again?
I think we can do it without you.
Okay.
I think any information you can give us would be good.
Okay.
It's good to be able to speak about it intelligently.
Yeah.
Scott, have you been in contact with Darren Bushman from Paiute?
I haven't. I talked to Will Talbot because Darren's mother just died.
Right.
And so,
but still, I would get with Darren.
And I can talk to
Darren. When it comes to public lands,
he's
the
the
guy's
one that's
brilliant.
in charge of that with UAC, and so that.
Well, I will contact you.
Maybe UAC would help too.
Yeah.
On this one time.
Well, we're doing pretty good. I mean, I'm asking producers for $100, and I've asked the county so far for $1,000, and I've had people say, "Well, I'd give you a lot more than that," and I'm like, "Well, I'd like a lot of players."
Send us a bill, the producers. Are you going to send?
No, I'm going to make a phone call. I thought I already talked. to you.
I know, but do I just have to hand it over? Or what?
So I'm sorry. It's a $25,000 annual fee that
the state pays. Yeah, and that's our problem. We've got to organize this public lands council or public grazers.
Yeah.
I kind of like to include all grazers because there's a lot of issues, but we've got to get together and structure that. I attended a meeting last Tuesday. The cattlemen were there, the Farm Bureau was there, the wool growers couldn't make it.
Like you say, you found out that there was such a thing and that you owed dues.
Yes, and I see the value in this going forward, but we can't leave it to these people that are kind of too busy and not organized enough to get it throughout the state. I was down in Kane County Friday talking to Commissioner Grant, right? Andy? Anyway, he just...
Gant.
Yep. Gant. He just... This is exactly what we need. As many of you know, Sue was asking Greg Sheehan to appoint an environmental bunch of people to oversee the non-motorized travel into the public lands. And that's scary stuff.
This administration is emboldened those extremists, the environmental extremists, and it really concerns me and should everyone.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off. I'm just trying to. I'm just going to go ahead and take care of this now. So, you're asking for a one-time donation or grant to support whose membership in the Public Lands Council?
Utah's membership.
Mm-hmm.
And we will. I mean, I just got a text from my board member a minute ago saying they granted our 1 month and
to stay, yeah, so that you can.
And we will get together, and I will see that this is organized so it's fair to the state. Most of the boards are organized for up north, not so much for us down here. Yet we've got probably the AUMs down in the southern.
Right. Mm-hmm. Now, you've kind of asked the neighboring counties for 1,000. Is that what you're asked
Yes.
for Iron County would
Yes.
be?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I think I've got enough to just get that on the agenda for the next meeting.
I appreciate that.
All right. And you don't necessarily plan on being here?
No, if I can, I will come.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I-
All right. I'm going to just put it was requested.
I've been kind of leaving my work while I've been bumming money, so I'm getting better at this than working, so I might as well just
keep
give
those
it up
balls in
and
the air.
Panhandle, I guess.
Okay.
Might not pay the bills.
Yeah.
That's Scott. Oh, it got wet. Splash Mountain.
Splash Mountain.
I'll take your wallet.
First ride of the day, too, man. I had soggy feet all day long.
Any supporting information, you can email me. Let's do that, and that way we can get that part of our packet. Okay. And their conventions tomorrow.
Scott.
Okay.
Are you sure? Oh.
Yeah, we got I don't remember you give it to me.
Oh, that's true. Documentation.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks,
Scott.
Scott.
Any other public comments before we move on? Agenda.
That was pretty good. We haven't had any for a little while.
That's great. All right. Agenda item number 2: presentation on domestic violence awareness. And I'm looking to
Kaylee was not able to make it today.
Oh, okay.
don't see Kaylee.
I guess
Do we
I don't
still-
have anything
Okay.
to show, so.
All right.
Do we still do the?
So
Didn't she do this last year? Isn't
yeah,
this-
they do it.
Yeah.
They do it every year.
Did we just go ahead and pass the
Do the
proclamation?
proclamation.
We got that.
Yeah.
I think we're familiar with it.
Yeah.
I heard it in the Parowan City
Yeah,
Council.
yeah,
the other
we did.
night,
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
we heard it the
familiar
other
with it.
night.
Yeah,
so-
and she does a great presentation.
Yeah, and she'll probably come next time, right?
They're the center that she runs. I mean, it's a fantastic organization, and
Yeah.
I think it's great the commission supports.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll support it.
So proclamation item number 3: Proclamation 2021-1, proclaiming October Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
I will move to approve Proclamation 2021-1, proclaiming October Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 4: discussion and approval of communication use site lease, private mobile radio service with the Bureau of Land Management. For the lease site, and the legal description of that lease site is included in the agenda, and this lease terminates December 31st of 2051.
Do we need any discussion on that?
Oh my goodness, I was reading those two as if they were the same item. I was looking at 5 thinking it was part of 4.
We just passed that. That's
Yeah,
just
so this is
ongoing lease.
part of our
right?
site that we have, and that's out west.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Is this on Blowhard Creek?
Nope. No, west. West.
Oh,
Out
it's,
on Tippy Top. What do they call it? That's what
Yeah.
the hunters call it, I think. But
Kind of Pine Valley Mountains.
We have one of our communication towers on there.
We do, and I think we actually run TV off of that too. So this site covers the law enforcement, emergency, and TV stuff that we use. So it's vital
Very
to
important.
what we do, and yeah, they've.
Is it on Frisco? Is that where this one is?
No, Frisco's in Beaver County. This one's
this
1034
one's
and
out by the mine.
or 34 and 10 and 15. Yeah, is
Okay.
You ready?
that for sale.
Yeah.
I'll move for approval of the communication use site lease private mobile radio service with the Bureau of Land Management for the lease site. Description said there, lease termination December 31st, 2051.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
gets to sign all those fun papers.
All right.
He's not as fast as Alma, but he's.
I know Alma was quick.
Is he quick? Wait
All
till
right.
next year.
Okay, now we're on to number 5. Discussion and possible approval of proposed memorandum of understanding to include Cedar City, Enoch City, and the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District to participate with Iron County as co-sponsors in the Iron County's Natural Resource Conservation Service grant to study water resources and wastewater effluent reuse related to the Coal Creek drainage study. Reed.
Well done. Morning and thank you. This is an attempt to recircle the wagons a little bit on a grant that we had started and had gone to an RFP and have contracted with Bowen Collins to do much of what the gentleman who isn't here anymore asking about, studying floods and making sure our hydrology is accurate and that we know what our flow for each channel should be.
We should have asked him to stay.
Well, this is doing what he suggested that we do for the first part of what we had started with. And by the way, we do have several contracts out right now to do what I can't remember his name. John, what was the guy's name?
Riley
Clark.
Clark.
Yeah. Mr. Clark had proposed. That is what's being done, Bill, with federal money. Grant that I couldn't pass that up. To study the flood capacities and the flood channel designs for much of the flood channel. This particular one is for the lower Coal Creek. Much of the work for Upper Coal Creek was done through Cedar City and through some federal grants that also helped widen that channel and increase its capacity. I think that the Coal Creek flood channel design is for 5,200 or 5,300 CFS, somewhere in that capacity. And what we are determining so far for the Stevensville lower Coal Creek area is about 3,700 CFS. So what we are doing with this is saying, where is that water going to go? How much is it going to be? And what are we going to do with it? And how do we account for all of the other subdivisions, as Mr. Clark was talking about, water coming out of those subdivisions? How do we handle that? How do we calculate that? How does that play into how much capacity needs to be built into the Coal Creek flood channel? We had started down this road with this plan, and then we, in talking with NRCS and Central Iron County Water Conservancy District, Cedar City, and Enoch, and the desire that we had to try to utilize the effluent from the sewer treatment plant and how to better utilize that in the capacity of recharge. And what the study originally, and the scope of the study, was to simply try to calculate how much water there would be and where to put it, not a recharge component. But with all of the work that has been done, Grace, this council, commission, trying to expand on that and say, how can some of these other flood waters be utilized, and how can we better utilize the effluent from the sewer treatment plant? And Cedar City had been trying to figure out and had done some studies on some reuse from the sewer treatment plant and how to get that water back up into town to a couple of locations that they had tried to figure out. So this is kind of re-scoping what we had intended to have Bowen Collins do, that would include some of the recharge capability and reuse of the sewer treatment plant, in addition to handling all of the flood waters. Whether it's appropriate to build a basin out near the sewer treatment plant that flood water could go into, as well as effluent, whether we can mix those given the fact that there are recharge concerns with some of that water from the effluent, and to try to take a big picture look at all of that, realizing that it's not going to provide everything that Enoch, Cedar City, and the Conservancy District need in order to accomplish those goals, but it will help and address and tie this project in with it. And so that's what this agreement is to say Iron County will still be the primary sponsor for the grant application, but Cedar City, Enoch, and Central Iron County Water Conservancy Districts will all be co-sponsors of the application. And that will help NRCS better scope and expand so that this scoping process and this initial study can then be utilized for those other agencies to build on and to be able to get funds to do the actual project work, as well as Iron County for this. And it will save them some money in the future by allowing us to broaden the scope of this study so that it can get some of the preliminary work done for those agencies kind of as we work together, so that they can take it from there and get more done without having to come back and do the redo what we're doing here. That's the purpose of this agreement, in short. Sorry about that.
No, thank you. This is a great opportunity, I think, to be able to mix the two
So
interests.
we are doing something, and we probably should have brought that up. I wish you would have stood.
Well,
Said
I
something.
didn't know we were going to have that many public comments and that he
Yeah.
was going to leave. I thought we'd get on that, but
Yeah,
it didn't happen.
I wished you would have stayed. That would have been helpful.
Okay.
Well, and if John will share his contact information with me, if you'll just email it to
Oh,
me,
that
John,
would be nice.
and
You
I'll
could talk
contact
to
him
him.
and let him know what
Yeah.
these are and what's going on.
Really great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
That's Paul.
Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and move to approve the proposed memorandum of understanding to include Cedar City, Enoch, and the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District to participate with Iron County as co-sponsors in the Iron County's Natural Resource Conservation Service Grant to study water resources and wastewater effluent reuse. And that's related to the Coal Creek drainage study.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It is approved.
The other, I didn't mention that they've all already approved this. Enoch,
Oh,
Cedar City, and the
all of them have.
So
Oh, good.
all on board.
All right. It's agenda item number 5. I'm going to skip ahead to item number 8, personnel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, first on the calendar is in the IT department. Kendall Allen was selected from the most recent competitive recruiting and interview process to backfill the full-time GIS coordinator effective date 10/4 of 2021.
Have a motion on that one?
Please.
I'll move for approval of Kendall Allen as a full-time GIS coordinator, backfill for vacant position, effective date October 4th, 2021.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is he from around here?
He's from, I want to say Kane County.
Oh.
Oh.
Paiute.
Paiute.
There we go. Thank you very much.
Oh, one of those Paiute boys.
I knew he was from an outlying county. I just didn't know which one. I apologize. All right, next is for the Sheriff's Department, Corrections and Patrol, because I'll kind of be discussing a little bit of both. There came an opportunity for a canine in the patrol side. He's not quite ready for retirement, but as far as patrol duties, he's not necessarily what they're needing at this time, and we had the opportunity to kind of do an overview of what the needs are for the corrections side, and that canine would be very beneficial to be in our jail. And so we put it on the agenda, and it's kind of vague, so I wanted to give some proper time in explaining it, and maybe I'm not doing a great job, so hopefully Lieutenant Shaver will step in and help a little bit. But this dog will help with within the jail discover drugs, possibility of hiding of effects in the jail. So having said that, we're seeking today approval to switch the dog from the patrol side to the correction side. This year, it will not really affect their budget per se, because they'll just absorb that for the rest of this year. Next year, it will be an addition to her budget item, and it will be to cover for a deputy to become trained in handling that canine as well.
Oh.
So if you have any questions, I know.
Yeah, I wondered if the
Yes.
if the person went with the dog or how that worked.
Okay, so I'll try to give you a little bit of a backstory. So this canine came from patrol. It's been through 2 handlers over there. And what's happened is it has vehicle anxiety. So the dog will run circles in the cage to the point that it's just tearing up the dog. And the doctor's saying, hey, he's still got a lot of good years left, but he can't be in this vehicle or it's going to shorten his life. So the sheriff came to me and said, hey, do you think you could utilize this canine in the jail? And we've always wanted one, but we try to use our money wisely, and we have a sinking jail versus a canine, and we know where. But if we're going to be gifted a dog, then that's awesome. If we could see what that does for us is it makes a pilot program, really, to see the effectiveness of the dog. What it does for us is that, so if a dog comes, I mean, you've been there, if a dog comes to a Sally Port, then all the toilets flush and our problem's gone, right? And so that's a good thing. The other thing that it can do for us is when we have an uncompliant inmate, then the dog comes in, guess what? Now you have a cuffed compliant inmate, just because the dog is there. Having a dog on site would do wonders for us. This dog is really specific because a lot of times you get a handler and then you go find a dog that will fit that handler. This dog is already established, and we need to find a handler that fits this dog. This dog needs a lot of structure. It will go home with a deputy and come back to the jail, and then as needed. It takes 320 hours per discipline to get somebody certified. So in this, I didn't know where the best place to put this on the agenda was. But so right now, when the dog goes to live at...
That's perfect.
Thank you. When the dog goes home with the handler, they do a $420 stipend, and that would be once we pick the handler for the dog. And then historically they do the 2%, but not until that handler is trained. So that we won't see that until next year. I feel like the benefits of this having this dog and being able to see how much we utilize it, and that fell in our laps. I feel like it would be a great morale booster for a lot of people at the jail also. So do you have any questions? Oh yeah, not for the inmates, but I don't know, maybe, to be able to have a dog around, that makes people happy, right?
You might not be very friendly.
They freak me out.
Well, I've
been on the right side the whole time. They still freak me out. I'm always really tentative before. I'm like, can I pet you, buddy? Before, are you going to bite my arm off? But
yeah.
What's this canine's name?
I don't remember. I know that it's Link. It's Link. It's Link.
Link.
Yeah, there's Link. It is. It's Kennedy's dog, and he is getting a new dog. And so and right now, Link is at his home, and he would like it to go to a different home. Oh. But anyway, so that's any other questions?
Can I talk to you afterward? I have a little idea about it.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anyway.
So there's my
Oh, thank you.
I'm so glad she came because she spent.
No, that's great. I
think that's awesome.
Yeah.
The prisons and a lot of correctional facilities utilize canines, and they're a great tool. So that's good that it could work out. It's good that he could fall in your lap. That's great.
Yes.
I like it.
All right. There's a motion.
Just a comment. This brings back a memory when I was on the city council in Cedar City. Just make sure these guys lock their kennels with canine.
Did you have one come out?
They had a canine come out, go into somebody's house next door and have dinner with them. So
oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
If you remember that.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
It wasn't good. So anyway, sorry about that.
Make yourself laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So I'll move to approve to relocate the canine from patrol to corrections. And it's possible approval of a stipend to pay to corrections deputy K-9 handler upon special assignment from sheriff.
I'll second that.
All in, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, last on my portion at least. The internal posting for the 2 patrol lieutenants, 1 admin and 1 on the street, closed this last Thursday, and we'll go to the selection process this week. In the meantime, Administrative Sergeant Dave Mitchell has agreed to be the interim lieutenant during the selection process. With your approval, we're seeking to adjust his pay for the interim process. And that will be effective date September 19th, 2021.
Okay. I'll move for approval of Dave Mitchell on the patrol side from administrative sergeant to interim lieutenant with corresponding pay, effective date September 19th, 2021.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Go back up to agenda item number 6 and 7.
All struggling. He's got a cold today, and you know how it
He's a
makes you
trooper
feel.
today. Okay, do you want me to speak to this, Commissioner?
Sure.
Or Karsten?
Yeah.
I mean,
Karsten's
Do we,
left.
he
Oh,
came
he's in the
back,
hall.
but
Okay.
Yeah, so are we going to
there he
need,
is.
or
He
do
was
we
over
need,
here.
or do we need to go into closed session for these,
my understanding is no. And
or
this
did
action-
we work that out
So
last time?
my understanding was that the in closed session last time, the action was kind of figured out to take here, but we wanted to add some specificity. There were 2 separate items, and we'll actually mention the dollar amounts this time.
Okay.
These are personal property taxes that were inadvertently paid twice between the business owner and their bank. Ironically, it was the same bank with 2 different business owners, 2 very different amounts. First one is item number 6. This is Phase Concrete. The amount isn't on the agenda, but the amount asking for a refund, and maybe to clarify there, and Nicole can correct me if I get this wrong, but it will be entered in as an adjustment in the treasurer's office after the taxes are paid. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Just
Once they're
they've taken out there and the charge is out there, then we
okay.
can make the adjustment.
Not after they're paid, but after they're established. And because personal property is self-reporting, that number really isn't out there. So in this case, it's going to be a refund or an adjustment of $2,826.04. That's $2826.04 for Phase Concrete. And unless the commissioners feel like it should be a closed session, I kind of felt like you were ready to take action after the last meeting.
I think so.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's take action on agenda item number 6.
Okay, I'll move to approve the tax credit for personal property taxes for 2022 due to overpayment of 2020 personal property taxes for Phase Concrete. And then of course he mentioned that part of this discussion was discussed in a closed session that we had. So
What's the
2,800.
oh, I'm sorry, for 2,826.04 was the total.
Is there a second?
Second.
Both of you are struggling. with the
I know we
seconds
are.
today. It's moved and seconded.
I moved on to the next one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I need one of those energy drinks you drink, Mike.
He's got one.
We've got
He's
one.
got one for the next meeting.
Okay, so the next item is the same problem, the same solution, and a different company. This is the GAF Corporation.
GAF?
Sorry, yes, GAF. I kind of slurred those together. And the amount for them was $208,777.17.
208.
208,777.17.
Okay.
That one was a little more significant.
That one's a little
Yes.
more significant.
That one Took a couple of different closed session discussions to
Yeah.
to
Decide
iron
on
out.
that. They're all great partners, though, and we just felt like that, that big of a mistake would really.
Well, we don't want to double tax
We don't want double
anyone.
taxed anybody. Yeah. Should I?
Yes.
I'll move for approval of the tax credit for personal property taxes for 2022 due to overpayment of 2020 personal property taxes of GAF Corporation, and we already talked about it in a closed session. The amount is $208,777.17.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will say there's been some concern that this somehow sets a precedent. This is a once-off situation that the commissioners can approve or deny anytime it comes up. And this is a very unique situation with the COVID year, and the one kind of bank seemed to be the common factor there. And so
we probably won't do that again for this same bank.
Yeah. Or maybe ever.
Or maybe ever, yeah, especially for them.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that there was a concern about there being a kind of a slippery slope, and I think this is a unique enough situation that I think the commissioners are able to avoid that.
Thank you. Non-delegated items. Do we have anything prairie dog wise?
I don't think so.
Perfect.
County boards?
Any changes on any boards?
Not that I know of.
All right. Okay. We have moved through our agenda today. The chair will declare this meeting adjourned.
The short one.
Relatively.
Yeah, nice. Do you feel like going home, Paul?
I'm fine.
Sure.
You sound fine.